Get out of the way!
1, 2, 3, 4!
Alright. Oh, fucking. What the fuck? Oh my god. How's it going, guys? It's been a while since you last saw my face. I think it was my Elden Ring DLC review last month. Oh, I got a new hat. Minecraft. I know. Pretty sweet, huh? I'm not going to be wearing it that often, though, because it doesn't really fit my head. I think it's a kid's hat. And you thought I couldn't look any more like a creeper. Shame on you. Well, here it is. Us poor people these past few months have been eating very well with free-to-play games. So much so that for the first time I am making a video talking about 4 of them. I usually only talk about one at a time. These are all free-to-play games that have come out within the last few months or so, and I've played each one of them extensively, or at least to completion as much as I can. Let's do these in chronological order, shall we? The first one came out in May and is called XDefiant. I think I already mentioned this before in another video, but XDefiant is a Ubisoft original. I hate that. I hate that term because it runs contrary to the very unoriginal copy and paste design that they're known for in their games, but whatever. XDefiant is basically Ubisoft's version of Call of Duty multiplayer anyway, and it plays as such. It's a first-person PvP shooter that has different modes. It's got Team Deathmatch, was added in a little bit after launch, and it's got domination, capture the flag, control, escort, all that stuff. But XDefiant is a little bit different because there are different classes, almost like heroes, but it doesn't really feel like a hero shooter. It's like a class-based shooter. What's interesting about XDefiant is that each class is based on a different Ubisoft franchise. Like you have the Phantoms from Ghost Recon, the Cleaners from The Division, what else? The Third Echelon agents from Splinter Cell. There is also Libertad from Far Cry 6, and Unlockable DedSec from Watch Dogs. And each class has their own key abilities that you can use in battle. Third Echelon is kind of like a stealth class. They have cloaking devices, they have cloaking abilities, and they also have the ability to basically wall hack and see heat signatures through walls, so you can ambush really easily. Phantoms have shields that you can use to run up to people and bash them with the riot shield. They also have these kind of like electrified shields that you place on the ground, and you can shoot through your shields. But the enemies can also break down your shields with their firepower too. Cleaners operate with incendiary rounds. They have incendiary drones and stuff like that. And DedSec are hackers. They can hack your mini-map, and they can also carry out little bots that can they almost look like the face huggers from Aliens, but they're motorized. And Libertad is basically the healer class. So there are different classes, and they're well varied. And I find that the more variety your team has, like if there's like one healer, one spy, and so on, I feel like the better chances of victory favors the team that has the most balanced team, a little bit of every class. One of the controversial points about XDefiant is that there is no skill-based matchmaking, which means that you're matched with pros as well as newbies. I suck at this game, man. I, you know, I think I made it to level 26 on the PS5 version, and I only got MVP one time. I played again on the Xbox Series S. I turned off crossplay to kind of even the playing field in terms of aiming, and I had a slightly easier time, and I was able to get 3 MVPs by the time I hit level 50. But still, it wasn't easy. I'm still not that great at it. Honestly, I don't really excel at multiplayer shooters, believe it or not. And XDefiant, look, man, I understand the appeal of having no skill-based matchmaking. And like in a way, I kind of like it because you can play with anyone. But at the same time, I just felt like I was out of my league. Most matches I felt like I was out of my league. So I really feel like there should be some type of substitute for SBMM. There should be like a different playlist that have different level players or something to kind of substitute that and make it feel a bit more accessible. Kind of like how Call of Duty feels a bit more accessible than XDefiant. This is not a Call of Duty killer. A lot of people tried saying that this is going to replace Call of Duty. How could it? Call of Duty is unstoppable in how popular it has become. It's one of the biggest, if not the biggest gaming franchise in the world. Nothing is going to dethrone Call of Duty in terms of popularity. But in a lot of ways, I actually prefer playing XDefiant over these past few Call of Duty multiplayer games. That's not really saying much. I don't like what Call of Duty multiplayer has become. I don't like how every other character I'm fighting is like in their underwear, or is Homelander, or Nicki Minaj. Like, what the fuck is this stupid shit? This is a joke. Call of Duty multiplayer has become a joke. So when I go to XDefiant, I'm like, yeah, this game has problems. This game has a lot of problems. It's got matchmaking issues. It has really bad lag in certain points, and it has really, really horrible hit registration problems. Really bad issue regarding people exploiting bunny hopping, and it is very annoying. But at least one thing it doesn't do is give us really cringy, stupid skins that make you feel embarrassed that you're playing that game. I'm not sure if any of those issues have been addressed, because it's been at least a month since I last played it, so maybe it's better. But based on early July, my final score for it would be like a 7 out of 10. I think it's a pretty decent um, shooter with a lot of class variety and pretty fun overall, but don't expect to excel at it because there's no SBMM. It does have some technical faults that I can't really forgive it. Like, if you tried XDefiant and you didn't like it, I completely understand. There are times when I didn't like it either. But overall, I think it's a pretty adequate and competent online shooter that you can play entirely for free. No microtransactions. I mean, no, there are microtransactions, but nothing that really felt pay to win for me. You upgrade your guns, and your guns do get a little bit more powerful. That does give you advantages in the field. So it's one of those games where, like, the more you play, the more powerful you are. But I mean, that's kind of the nature with most games. So that was XDefiant. That was the first of 4 free-to-play games that I'm covering. The second free-to-play game I'm covering is the one I dislike the most. but I tried so hard to really like it, and that was the First Descendant. This is a third-person shooter. It's more like a looter shooter, an online looter shooter. It's a sci-fi game, so it's kind of like Warframe in that regard. I don't know if you guys remember Warframe. I think it's still online. You might be able to still play Warframe, but it's kind of like Warframe, except it's not quite as good. Um, for one, the missions are incredibly short and also incredibly repetitive. It involves you doing the same like three things over and over and over and over again. There are different zones that you explore that open up after each previous one is cleared. And at the end of each zone, you do these longer, more linear style missions that have matchmaking, and these missions are better than the ones, the little 3 minute long ones that you go about throughout like each region, but it's still not very good. The shooting itself is okay, and I guess the loot system is okay. All the best things about this game, all the best qualities, are only okay. The graphics are pretty good. It has good graphics. The way the game looks is good, but its repetitive mission design, its horrid platforming segments. The game has a grapple hook mechanic, but it doesn't really feel like a grappling hook. It feels like a fucking tether where you just like it doesn't feel like you snap to ledges properly. It does not feel good to use. And so many times I just fall to my death or fall to a pit and I get respawned with the rest of my team a mile ahead as I'm struggling to fucking keep up with the platforming puzzles. I I ultimately stopped this game. I stopped playing it after like 20 hours because I got to this point where I reached the level cap, the level 40 cap with my character. I did unlock a new character. I grinded her to about like level 30. Um, but I saw really no point to it because the game stops you at a halt with these bullshit Colossus group bosses. They're kind of like the world bosses of the game, except they're just not fun to fight. They are bullet spongy. There's this weird gimmick where you can like grapple to different body parts of these Colossus enemies and like tear off weak points and stuff, but it doesn't even work most of the time. And even when they're stunned and that opportunity is clearly open to you, I find that not only me, but other players try doing it and it just doesn't work. And also, I think I stopped at like either the fourth or fifth Colossus fight. I don't remember which one it was, where it had this healing phase. And in order to stop it from healing itself back to full health, you have to destroy like four of these glowing orbs. The problem is that the glowing orbs are fucking bullet sponges too. And I would have a full four team squad of level 40 players who know exactly what they're doing. Each one of us is at the fucking is at our corresponding orb, right? And we're still not dealing enough damage to stop him from replenishing his whole health and having all our progress gone. And we die because we can't keep up with this. I don't know how the hell anyone is supposed to get past this. I don't know if you need pay to win weapons with level 100 fucking lightning weapons and shit. I Look, the gunplay itself is fine. The gameplay is serviceable. But when you throw us these terribly designed bosses that grind our progression to a halt, and probably make us buy shit, that's when I stop playing. I believe that it is a pay to win game in order to complete it. Now the story, I couldn't follow the story at all. I a lot of people have been saying, and maybe it's just rumors, but a lot of people say that the story is AI written. I'm like, what? But if that's the case, then you know what? I believe it because the story is not engaging at all. It's not interesting at all. The First Descendant, I don't really recommend. There are way better looter shooters that are even free that are better than this. Like Warframe is a better game than this. I would give the First Descendant a 5 out of 10. Um, you'll have some fun here and there, but for the most part, it's boring, it's repetitive, it's monotonous. The story is confusing beyond a point where you would even want to understand it. It probably is AI written, and if that's the case, then it's probably lower than a 5. It's probably like a fucking 4. Just because the developer stooped to that low. That they're too lazy to write the game themselves. And yeah, that's the worst free to play game I've played this summer. It is not the worst free to play game I've played this year. There are two free to play games, believe it or not, that I played earlier in like January and February that were far worse. Like Silent Hill, The Short Message, is one of the worst pieces of interactive media I've ever played in my life. That shit's a 1 out of 10, by the way. There's nothing good about it. And interaction isn't explicit. A fucking rough draft playable essay by someone who doesn't know what the fuck they're talking about. I'll leave it at that. That's like a 2. I gave it an extra point just because the music in that game was pretty good. Um, yeah, hopefully I'll leave those two games as like the dishonorable mentions on my top 5 or top 10 worst games of the year at the end of this year. Anyway, the First Descendant, yeah, I couldn't really get into it. I played it until it stopped letting me progress. Now, my third free to play game I want to talk about is my favorite, and that is called Zenless Zone Zero. It is an anime style game by the same people who gave us what the hell? What the hell was the name of that last one that came out a few years ago? Genshin Impact. Yeah, Genshin Impact. I actually liked Genshin Impact, but when I look back, I didn't play that often of it because I remember there being I remember it being a lot grindier, but I love the gameplay, right? This one is better than Genshin Impact because not only is the gameplay awesome, but I was able to play like well over 40 hours of this before it started. Maybe not 4, maybe like 30 is a more accurate number before it started giving me grinding requirements. But I still liked it because I still liked the gameplay. I didn't mind the grind as much in this one. Zenless Zone Zero is a very interesting and unique game. As a matter of fact, it's one of the most unique games I've played so far this year. It is an action RPG slash interactive sim. What I mean by interactive sim is it kind of adopts the Persona style of clock-based gameplay, where you spend the morning, afternoon, and evening doing various activities around the city and doing stuff for people, doing side quests around the city, gaining your trust with your companions. The reason why this is an interesting concept, though, is that you actually play as a hacker. You tell these I think they're called the Cunning Hares. They're kind of like vigilante agents who are they know how to fight, and you tell them where to go by looking at monitors on the screen that are kind of supposed to represent the region of dangerous they call them hollow points. These are dangerous parts of the city that have been corrupted with ether, that have monsters in them and stuff like that, and raiders. And the way the monitor presents itself is kind of like its own ginormous mini game where you go around solving puzzles and breaking down walls and collecting info and money. And I really enjoy this a lot. I love the whole mini game aspect. And what I love about the main characters is that they have a videotape store that they use as a front to hide their backdoor business as a hacker. Like in the back room, the employees only room is secretly like a huge hacking like monitoring station. And it's fucking awesome. And I actually like the clock-based system in this game even more than Persona 5's. The problem I had with Persona 5's clock-based section is that during school days you'll have the mornings where you're going to school, and then you'll have the afternoon and evenings to do two different activities. But then on the weekends you only have daytime and evening. Why can't I have three activities instead of two on the days that I don't have to go to school? That part of Persona 5 didn't make any sense to me. And here, you're obviously not in school. You're a guy in your 20s or a girl in your 20s. There's two separate main characters, and they're brother and sister. You get to decide which one you want to play with throughout your playthrough. But they're like in their 20s, and all their agents, the cunning hair agents that they have, are all very unique characters. You have this one girl who's she's a swordswoman who has like a lightning sword, and she's very professional and kind of like upfront. And you have this really cocky robot guy who has like dual pistols and stuff. Later on, a little bit later on, you get this really shy, kind of nervous, clumsy girl who's like just like very off about herself. She's not confident, but she's still a really good fighter. Like, she uses her clumsy moves. I love how her clumsy moves are like still efficient in combat, and so on. And the combat itself is amazing. I love the combat. It is a very fast-paced action hack and slash, and whenever you stun an enemy, it does this quick pause where you can switch between characters and keep going with the combo while these enemies are stunned. And it has that really satisfying, impactful, like, slap every time you do it. Like, oh, I stunned you. And then you quickly do another combo from another character, snap. You do another combo from the third character that you have enlisted during commissions. And it's such a well-flowed, well thought out combat system. I really love the combat in this game. So, is there anything about this game I do not like? Because I love the combat. It is actually my favorite combat system of the year, even more than Elden Ring, even more than Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I love the combat. It is the highlight of Zenless Zone Zero. And I also like the monitoring exploration, I should say. And I also liked the going outside and running around town and doing missions for people, helping people out, and eating food and going to the arcade and having coffee. That progressed the days. I also like the Hollow Zero missions. They're basically more challenging versions of the regular Hollow missions. They're kind of like roguelike missions where they get progressively harder, but at the same time you earn permanent upgrades to kind of help you make those missions easier gradually. I like those too. Those are awesome. There are quite a few things I really don't like about this game, however. The humor. It's a funny game, but sometimes the humor goes way overboard. It detracts from the story, the main story. It went so far as to make me not really care much about the story itself. but rather it made me look forward more to the humor. And as a result, I didn't really care what was going on, you know? It was kind of like a Neo situation where I was loving everything else, so much to the point that, like, compared to all those different elements, the story just blew. But it was also one of those games where it was very heavily driven. It's a very heavily driven story game. So there are times where I'm just sitting here in my chair. I'm just like, oh my god, another conversation, really? Oh my god, another thing where I gotta read paragraphs of dialogue on things that I don't really care about, you know, but I'm trying to care about, and I'm trying to understand things. And the game loses an entire point just because of the story. I just find it unengaging, I guess. Not as bad as the story in the First Descendant, but to a point where, like, I'd rather just play the game. Like, I'd rather just keep exploring the game and keep fighting rather than listen to all these people talk and having random jokes shoved in my face. Another problem that I have with the game, later on, the story requires you to be a certain level. It's not a huge deal to me because there is a shit ton of content to the game. Like, every day there's like a new side quest that opens up, and every day, every real life day, you can visit the arena to farm upgrade materials and get some really easy XP bonuses. But I always consider it a design fault when a game forces you to level up to progress in the story. The Act 3 segments, it requires you to be like level 34, and then the mission after that requires you to be level 36. So I'm just like, okay, so the story is paused for now until I do other shit. Which again, I don't mind because I love doing like 90% of like everything there is. But I have to be objective in that it's a design flaw. This is why scaling is pretty important in RPGs. Not action adventure games, but RPGs. Games that have a lot to do with your leveling and have a lot to do with, you know, your status effects and how powerful each companion is, and I have to lose the whole point on that as well. It's also one of those games where after like 40 to 50 hours, the difficulty on the end game levels are increased dramatically to the point where is it finally starting to drift into pay to win? I don't know, because I played over 50 hours so far, and I'm starting to feel that effect of shit. Like, I'm not really leveling up that much farther, you know? My guys are still level 40. I'm still only level 38, level 39, and there's not really much to do that I can't do at my current level. So I'm like, shit. Uh, but, you know, it's okay because I played this game for 50 hours, and that's more than enough for a free to play game with loads of content with great value. One more little, maybe it's only a nitpick, but sometimes the monitoring exploration can be kind of laggy and it'll pause a bit. It just makes exploration kind of clunky and just little, like you're stuck in mud. Little laggy, but I'm sure they can patch that up pretty soon. Yeah, my final score for Zenless Zone Zero is an 8 out of 10. It's a really great game. It's my favorite free to play game of the year so far. If you guys are really interested in kind of like a Persona clone, but with like an action combat system, I highly recommend checking it out. And I recommend checking it out for anyone, basically. And last but not least, there's not much to say about this one because I got the Platinum Trophy in about half an hour. Uh, Puzzle Drop Carnival. It is a puzzle drop game, kind of like Tetris, only you have to form a jigsaw puzzle you know, and that's it. It's like a little jigsaw game. Nothing great, but nothing bad either. It's very lackluster in content, but there are no microtransactions. There are a few modes: single player mode versus another player versus a bot. There's different difficulties versus a bot. Different size tiles to kind of increase the variety a little bit. Different images to make it a little bit more interesting. I'm not a big puzzle guy, but the fact that this only took me like half an hour to get the platinum trophy in. I mean, it's an easy platinum, I guess. I guess the hardest trophy was beating the bot on hard mode. You have to be really fast. You can do all the trophies on the first image, so you can just keep practicing on the first image. So assuming you only play this because of the trophies, just play the first image and get used to that face. Yeah, my final score for that one is going to be like a 6 out of 10. It's okay. It's just, why does this exist? Like, whatever. Why does this exist? It's not bad, but why does it exist? Anyway, guys, wow, that's a long video. I might not do another one of these again. But I just like, all I've been playing recently are free-to-play games, like these past couple of months. Or, not including the, Elden Ring DLC. But yeah, I thought I would make a good, half-hour long video talking about them. What are your thoughts on these games if you played them? Let me know in the comments down below. Coming up next, I'm actually planning on doing a Let's Play of the new Doom episode. I think it's called... Shit, I forgot what it was called. Legacy of Rust. It's a part of the enhanced edition of the new Doom 1 and 2 enhanced edition. It's a brand new episode, so I might do a Let's Play of that. And if not, I might actually do a full-on review of the Doom 1 and 2 enhanced edition that also includes Final Doom as well. So, yeah, stay tuned for that. If it's a Let's Play, you'll see it within the next weekend. If not, if it's a whole review, you're going to see it probably the weekend after. So stay tuned, and thank you for watching.
The Gamer Gods!
Very lackluster in content, but there are no microtransactions.